Okay.
I think this might be a good reference.
Is that
This is what they see. Yeah.
I made a copy of hers because I didn't.
Yeah. You can do whatever you want. But everything's set up, so you just have to start. You don't have to click any buttons beside your slides.
Sweet. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
Wonderful. I don't know if
I'm
I've.
Tom.
Skylar.
Hey, Scott, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Are we starting at lunch?
Yes.
Skylar, how long have you been at Keller Williams?
7 years.
Did you start here?
I started at the Keller Williams in Edmond.
Yeah.
Lived up there at the time, and then
Who was your broker there?
Susan Miller. Supposed to be. There's supposed to be a way I can see the chat box on here, but I don't see it. There it is.
You got good news on it? Make it better?
Are you newly licensed?
Say again?
Are you newly licensed?
I'm not even licensed.
You're not even
I
licensed.
just finished
Okay.
class with Peggy 2 weeks
Okay.
ago and passed that exam, and so I'm taking my license test on the 14th.
Okay.
Yes, so this is all brand new. Yes. Hi.
Hi. Hey, hi there.
Hi, Hillary.
Hey, how you doing?
Well, you doing okay?
Hey, stranger. All right. Good. I forgot my binder today, so.
I don't think we'll follow the binder too much anyways. That's kind of how it goes.
I don't believe this week, but we come to the first part. How's it going?
Good, busy, can't complain.
That's good, right?
Busy's good. Wow. See why you scratch. Getting my coffee, right? Just don't like it. You know, sit my house.
Oh, yeah, that was nice.
Yeah, yeah. Morning.
Where did you get it? They didn't let me do it. I was all the way up there. Things to have cancellation. Well, I thought I was gonna be able to in here.
Guess I will have questions or
There's 3 questions.
But there's a lot of stuff. that you can-
Okay. Hello. The tables are wobbly. Is this about how many people have been coming? Everybody's slowing in right on time usually. We started a little bit late. Tuesday, I was only here Tuesday. I was last week. But there was probably 3, I know there's one other person for sure that'll be here. Okay. I don't want to start too early, but I also don't want to stall either.
We're a bunch of realtors, so
You're either early or not. Late. Yeah. We're very late. On time is a rare occasion. We can start so we start on time, so I don't keep you guys forever, because I'll talk for a long time if I allow myself to. I get it. Okay. You two are the only ones I know, so I'll introduce myself. My name's Skylar. I'm the broker at the South Central Valley office. And I have a team down there newly. Super exciting. Stephanie. Hello, come on in. Okay, perfect. I almost wore that shirt today. I have that coffee cup too. Sign up for mega camp. buy 3 actually. It's like $80.
Well, you know I love my Keller Williams.
I
Okay. So anyway, I work down there. I have been with this office since 2014, Keller Williams since 2012. I have been an individual agent until of recent. And then now I have a team. I've had a TC for a year and a half and then just hired a buyer's agent. So, anything else that you guys feel is important that you know about me?
How did you do it? You tried by yourself?
I think my first couple of years it was slow, but I also wasn't pushing business super hard until about year 3, which I would say is my first super profitable year. I think that year I did like 20 something units. And that was about year 3. The years before that were kind of hit and miss on, because I wasn't doing anything consistent. I was just winging it. So like a lot of new agents, I think, but yeah, I think for me, when the transition happened is when I decided to really plug into, I've been with Keller Williams the whole time, but when I really decided to plug into the culture and the training and take advantage of the opportunities that are right in front of you. It's all here, so you just have to use it. All right, so my sweet spot is sellers, so I'm excited to get to teach this part of Ignite for you guys. Buyers are not my specialty. I have worked buyers for 7 years, but they're just not, I think every agent has their own thing. So for me, it's listings and sellers. That's what I enjoy the most. And so hiring buyer's agent now, that's what I'm going to get to do is focus on my listings and my sellers. So how many of you actually have access to Command? A few? Okay. So one of the things this act kind of wants us to do today is actually go in and create a listing presentation. We may more so just skim what that looks like. And then if you guys get in there, get in Command and start playing with it and you have questions, I'll give you all my cell phone number before you leave. You can always call me later.
Can I ask a really stupid question?
Sure.
Command is proprietary software or platform of KW's?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How do you get that?
As soon as you get signed up here, you will get a login and Tiffany will connect with you and teach you the basics of how to use it.
So eventually the hardware is there.
Yeah, pretty much don't look at your book. We're going to ignore the book. I looked over what is in your material for today and I like this better, so we're going to ignore the book.
Okay. Just remind us.
Yeah, you just take notes in there. You can pretty much ignore the material that's in the book. Like we're going to go Skylar style. So the first thing we'll kind of talk about is how do you get the seller to work with you? Like, what do they want? What do they want to hear from you? What kind of conversations do you need to have when you're at that table? And what needs to happen prior to those listing appointments? And I can't find my cursor on this computer. There it is. Okay, so how do you get a listing? What's your thoughts? How do you get a listing? How do you find a seller? How do you find somebody that wants to sell their house?
Previous buyers.
Previous buyer, yeah.
Previous sell.
Yes. What else? Okay. But okay, so maybe they bought their house for sale by owner.
Call everybody you know.
Yeah. Say, who's the ones to sell their house?
I saw, I was on an app yesterday, Zillow. And there was a whole bunch of people on there that said for sale by owner on those signs. And so I was like, oh, look, you can go to those houses and view them and say, how do you like me to help us out?
Absolutely. For sale by owners are a great resource, especially if you'll follow the scripts. So most people find that their agent is a referral. Okay. So I am a referral-based business. Since I began, most of my business comes from referrals, buyers, and sellers. So that's where nurturing your database really, really comes in, because those people are talking to their friends, and their friend maybe said, hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. If you're staying top of mind of your database, they're gonna say, hey, I know a great agent, let me connect you. And you're having that conversation every time you connect with that person in your database. You know, who do you know that's thinking about selling? Do you mind if I get their information? And then you can make that first contact. Use the agent previously, that comes in, you know, with nurturing your people. So you sold them a house, maybe they got transferred. Did you stay connected? Are they going to remember you? Or are they going to use somebody else? Personal contact by agent, that's going to be your FSBOs, things like that, people that you're reaching out to directly. Internet leads are pretty low as far as, you know, finding sellers. And then visited an open house, you're going to find your buyers there, not your sellers as much.
Although occasionally, the nosy neighbor has come through and compare.
Oh, it does happen.
Yes.
Yeah, it does happen. You can, and especially if you find somebody that's looking to buy, but they haven't listed their home yet, convert them as a buyer and you get a listing. You get a 2-for-1. Those are always nice.
And if you door knock around your open houses too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you guys live up here where you can door knock. You do that where I live, you get that with a shotgun, so. Yeah. You're dealing with country agent over here. All right. So what sellers want? What do they actually want from you? If you're sitting down at the table with a seller, what's your value proposition? What are you offering them? What do they really want you to do? Ultimately sell their house, but how? What's your value proposition? How are you going to do it?
For the most money and buy their time.
So most sellers want a specific time frame. So I had a FSBO I've been working on for a month and a half call me the other day, and she said, I need to sell my house by September 6th. Think you can do it?
Challenge.
And I said, challenge accepted. Let's do it. So we jumped in and we've been working that listing hard, and should have an offer on it in my email maybe by the end of the day. So we'll make it by the 6th.
Yeah.
Will you circle back around to that? I want to know
Yeah.
what you did differently or what steps you took to like hyper market a home.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if we've got some time at the end, I would love to touch on that. So mainly in this, it goes back to that conversation with her. So where she struggled is she did not market her home. She wasn't marketing it. She put a for sale sign in the yard. She put it on Zillow. Okay. So a lot of our conversation was around marketing and how marketing can help get her home out there, get more people in the door.
And she probably took her own pictures too.
Oh, yes. And of course, so when I listed, I had a professional photographer go out with a drone because it's in like, so my main market's Pauls Valley. So it's downtown in the valley, like the part of town that everybody wants to be in. That's the most expensive part of town. So I had drone footage, you know, flying over, showing the location of the property and everything like that. So I think seriously, and we didn't change the price. We're asking exactly what she was asking, FSBO, just ramping up that marketing and everything.
What changed her mind? Was it just that she finally had a timeline that she had to beat it by? You know, I'm just
Yes.
curious. So just
So they're under contract on another home,
Okay.
contingent.
Okay, I see. So she just reached a point and you were there in her mind, so she's like, okay,
Mhm.
opportunity.
Yeah, they were going to lose their contract. And the seller on the one they're contingent on said, I will give you 30 more days if you will list with an agent.
I see. Okay, interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Agent.
Yeah, if you will list your home with an agent, we'll give you 30 more days. So,
Look at that working together.
yep, absolutely. So pricing, usually when you're going into a listing appointment, not always, but they have some type of vision in their head of where they want their home priced. Sometimes it's realistic, sometimes it's not. So sometimes it's your job to break their heart or give them super exciting news. Okay, that can very easily go either direction. you'll have the people who want you to come and say, you know, what can I do? What's going to make it more appealing? What's going to increase value of my home? Come in and give them ideas as far as remodels or redecorating or staging, things like that. Usually that's not really what they're actually looking for when you're sitting there presenting your value proposition. It's a nice bonus, but most of the time that's not what's top of mind for them. Okay, so the process, and this process is going to be variable. So you're going to take out of here what's going to work for your business. We don't all use this exact process. So pre-listing questionnaire, what that really looks like is that initial phone call you're having with that seller. What are your needs? What's your timeline? What are all of those things? What's important to you? What's your expectations? Where are you going? It's that whole pre-qualification process. So then you schedule your appointment with them. The pre-listing packet is something I personally don't do. I know there are a lot of agents that do, and it's super successful for them and they love it. And I think that's one of those things you have to decide if that's part of your business plan.
What is that?
So pre-listing packet would be like, you send them basically all of the documents ahead of time to review. I don't do that. I like to be sitting face to face with them when we go over those. So that's, again, it's going to be personal preference to your business if a pre-listing packet is something that you want to do. Then the listing presentation. With the listing presentation, I usually have already looked up the home. I've pulled the tax records. I know square footage. I know bedrooms, bathrooms. I obviously haven't been in the home yet, but usually with my listing presentation, I go ahead and have at least a rough CMA put together, and have an idea of where I feel like we're going to need to price that home before I ever even step in the door. Now, sometimes that changes once you go in and you're like, oh, they've done some major updating, and then I'll just leave that part out when we're talking. I'm like, let me go pull some new comps. And that can also go the other way also. You go in and you expect it to be well kept and it's not. And so that can go either way. But if you are at least prepared for that, if the home is in the condition you kind of expected, you're ready to go ahead and have a pricing conversation. So that, so after that, you go to the house, you do the walkthrough, you're sitting down at the dining room table with your sellers. I usually kind of follow their lead on if they're more comfortable in like their living room or their dining room, but whichever way, I try to make sure I'm able to be face to face with them. I don't want to be sitting like this way on the couch and then sitting this way. We're going to look at each other because I want to read their face when we're having conversations and see how they're feeling about certain things. If I feel like, sometimes you can tell if you're missing something and you can try to figure out what that is and amp that up. Okay, so your preparation, you're before the appointment. What do you do before you get there? So classifying sellers, have you guys kind of gone through any of that? Like A client, B client, C client? Nope, gibberish? Okay. All right. So for me, when I have a listing lead, I'm going to qualify them by A, B, or C. Okay, they're going to be A seller, B seller, or C. So a C seller is going to be someone who is like ready to do business, but maybe like 2 months out. Okay, they're not ready today. We're not setting a listing appointment for tomorrow. We're a little ways out. They do want to sell, but just not yet. Okay, so I'm going to put them as a C. A B is going to be somebody who's ready in the next like 15 to 30 days. Okay, somebody who's ready within the next month, they're probably going to be ready to sell. So I'm going to be following up with them a little quicker. And then an A client is somebody you're going to be trying to get an appointment within the next week to 2 weeks. You're trying to get that appointment set, scheduled, ready to go. And those people can change. You may have a C, somebody classified as a C seller, you think they're a couple months out and something in their life shifts and they're like, I'm ready now. So you got to be following up with that person so that you don't miss out on
How often? Would you say like call them every week or like every 2 weeks?
So
And then,
yeah, it's dependent. So if they're a couple months out, I usually put them on a weekly, or bi-weekly. If I know they're at least 60 days out, I'm gonna go bi-weekly. I'm not gonna call them every single week. I'm gonna call every couple. And all those may not be phone calls, it may be just a text message.
Okay.
Hey, just touching base, making sure you're still on track of your goal of getting your home on the market in the next 60 days. If there's anything I can help you with in the meantime, don't hesitate to reach out.
Do people ever like tell you, like, yeah, you know, I want to sell my home, I want to get it presentable for, you know, like, the landscaping? Like, do you ever help them find people?
Absolutely, all the time. All the time.
So you have to have people in mind for that.
Yeah, building a strong vendor list is going to be your best friend. So I have one right now that needs a roofer and a foundation company. So he calls me, he's like, I don't know either one. I had him on schedule with a roofer and a foundation repair company that day for the next week, and he was like, thank you.
And I'll tell you a cool thing about our office too, and like just the way that everyone helps each other in our office, especially first getting started. We've got Facebook groups that are specific to our office.
Yes.
And all you gotta do is go on there and say, hey, I need a roofer, who do you recommend? And
You'll have a list.
You'll have a list.
Yeah.
So don't be intimidated by that.
Yeah. If
because
somebody asks you for,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if you get a call from a client and they're like, hey, I need somebody to come out and clean out my septic system. And you're like, okay, give me a few minutes and I'll get you a referral. Post in that group and you'll have a list ahead of time.
That's cool.
Yeah, and if you don't feel like you're getting responses quickly from there, pick up the phone and call some of us because we'll have people. Yeah, and absolutely willing to share those contacts because our vendors are our
One
biggest
person
partners.
to them or one business to them, or would you give them like 3?
I usually try to give a few, especially if it's something that's really common. So like roofers, I have a list of 3 that I refer really regularly in my area. And so usually I have, like, I even have it saved as a note in my phone, roofers, and listed, and I just copy and paste into a text message to them. They have contacts for all 3 of my roofers. And
Hey,
if,
Skylar.
can you help me with the scheduling of that? I'll say, absolutely. Do you have a preference on which one I call first? And if
Okay.
just call one, just pick one.
They will literally ask you to act like a general contractor.
Yep. I do it all the time.
all the time.
Yep.
All the time.
That's good though,
I
right?
hope
Yeah.
your roofers appreciate it.
Oh, they do.
Oh, yeah.
I have one roofer, I sent 3 jobs this week.
Hey, y'all should be on a kickback system with the roofers.
Well, I mean, there's legality there.
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, that's really good because, you know, when there does come a time when you're like, hey, I need a roof, you make an appointment with me, they'll probably put you on the top of that list.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I had, perfect example. I have a termite pest guy that I love and refer all the time. He gets a lot of business from me and from our office there in Falls Valley. We pretty much all use him a lot. I called him because I was having some issues at my personal home with spiders. And I was like, I've got a big spider problem. Like I'm like, go do whatever you gotta do. I don't care. Like, just go take care of it and tell me how much it hurts later. Like,
Yeah.
just go fix it. And he called me when he was done and he was like, okay, I'm done. I'm gonna write you a ticket so you know what I did, but there's no charge.
Wow.
And that is legal?
That is legal. He did not hand me any money of any kind.
Wow.
Oh, no, yeah.
That's great.
But a favor like that.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, I'm gonna go ahead and put you on a quarterly treatment plan and I'll bring you a ticket every quarter, but unless we have to do something major, I'm not gonna charge you.
Because you also get to know them, you know, you see them a lot, so you
You're
build
marketing your
friendships.
business for them.
Yeah, I mean, so another example of that, I have a company that I use a lot down there, Capital Overhead Door. They do doors and electric gates, garage doors, gates, anything electric. He cut me a really good deal on an electric gate on my house. And he's like, if you will just post about it and give us like shout out on social media. And he's like, put me on your vendor list. He's like, I'm going to cut you a deal and do this gate at cost. So I probably saved $1,200 on my gate
For a Facebook post.
for a Facebook post and a shout out and put him on my referral list.
Yeah.
So those relationships are very important. All right, so pre-listing goals. So before you set the appointment, what do we want to do? So this talks a lot about the pre-listing packet. Again, if that's something you're interested in, it's great. It's just not a tool that works for my business. Not that there's anything wrong with using one, it just doesn't work for my business model. So state your value. This is what we were talking about in the beginning. Like what are you bringing to the table? What's your value proposition? And each agent is gonna have something a little bit different. That's their thing. Like every agent in my office down south, like we all do things a little bit differently, and that's okay. So I may not be a fit for this seller, but maybe somebody else in my office is. And we're still keeping that business, within our office, but they weren't a fit for me. And sometimes I know that. So I have a listing appointment with a client and I'm like, you know what? I'm not the best person to help you with this. However, I know someone who is. Referral. I make 25% and I get them connected with someone who is actually a good fit. So don't ever be afraid to do that also. If you feel like you're not a fit for someone, you can find someone who is.
And what would that be? Just working with a buyer, maybe it's like a foreclosure and you don't do that. Is that what you
Yeah, maybe that's not your specialty, or maybe an issue that we run into a lot down there. I do a lot of farm and ranch. Well, a lot of times we have agents that want to come from the city down there, sell farm and ranch. They have no flipping clue what they're doing. I mean, they don't know anything about acreage, about land, property lines, whatever. And a lot of times I'll end up with a referral off of that because they're like, I don't know what I'm doing. This is outside of my wheelhouse. Do you want to take this buyer and pay me 25%? I'll do it all day.
Yeah.
Okay.
So same for me. I mean, maybe I have commercial is my thing. Like I'm not savvy in commercial. I don't want to do commercial. I don't want to know about commercial. I want to know enough to survive if I need to, but I have no desire to do commercial. So if I get a commercial lead, I'm referring that sucker out all day long. Karina.
Yeah, so is commercial like working with contractors and things like that?
It would be like commercial property.
Like
So-
buying a car.
Yeah, like-
Gas station.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Not my thing. So those things are getting referred straight to Karina.
Yeah. Oh, can I say something too?
Yeah.
About value proposition, since I know a lot of you guys are brand new and I'm just seasoned enough to know my mistakes that I made my first year.
We all do.
Yeah, so whenever I first started, I felt intimidated because I was new and, I was like, what is my value? Well, even as an independent agent, or if you're not on a team, or if you decide you want to be on a team or whatever, this office is a value for you because just like that, I don't do commercial, but guess what? Someone in my office does. So every resource and every marketing thing that, every class, every person in this office is part of your value proposition. So remember that and get to know your office. That way you feel confident telling people that.
Because if somebody asks you a question and it's not in your wheelhouse, if you get to know the people in this office, someone in this office is an expert at it. So find that person.
And I still tell people this, I probably will forever, but what saved me, what I always told people is, I'm an expert in very, very little, but I know an expert in almost everything. So if there is something that I can't answer right away, I can get you the answer and I can, get you that information quickly.
Absolutely. And then the value in that is you're saying, I can get that information quickly and I will get it to you. Your value is that you actually do it.
Right, yeah,
You have to actually follow through with that. You can't say, you know what, I don't know, but let me find out, and then not go find out. Okay, you have to actually do the thing.
Yeah.
So pre-selling, building confidence and answering questions. This is your conversations with your sellers. Okay, what questions do they have? What concerns do they have? How are you helping them overcome those hurdles and making them feel like you know what you're doing? They're confident in trusting you with the sale of their home. I mean, most people, their homes are the biggest investments they ever make, and they're trusting us to help them with that. So I have to trust you. Saving time. This is a lot of the pre-listing packet stuff. Again, it doesn't fit for my business. So I can't help you a lot in that area because it's not a tool that I use. However, there are people in this office that do use it extremely successfully. And if it's something you're interested in, I'm sure they would love to help you with that. Let's see. Okay, so pre-listing packet, kind of what is in that. We'll fly through this a little bit because I'm not super, again, it's just not my thing. So once you get in Command, there's a pre-listing packet already built in there. You can jump in, edit it, customize it, make it custom to you. It's already in there.
Are you talking about in Command or in the KW?
In Command, if you'll go into designs, there are listing presentations and buyer presentations pre-made in there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and you just go in and customize them. All right, so we'll go to the actual listing presentation. So this is what that looks like. So in Command, can you see my cursor? Or am I just, you can't? Okay, so these are there's two different ones already in there. So you just pick which one you like the design of it and go in and customize that. Okay, I use the black one just because it fits me better, but they're pretty much the same content. They just are a little bit designed differently, and they're completely customizable also.
When you're presenting these, are you doing these on a tablet, laptop, or actually handing them a dossier?
Depends on the client. If it's a younger set of sellers, I may do it on my tablet and then email them a copy later. If I'm going to an appointment with some elderly clients, I'm going to print it and I'm going to hand it to them.
Which one's better for this business, iPad or Android?
I personally use an iPad, but the only reason that I do that is because I have an iPhone, and so I can kind of bounce back between the two. I think that's total personal preference. Everything that KW has, all of our systems, they all operate on Chrome.
Okay.
So they operate best on Chrome, you can put it that way. Chrome's the key. If you have a Mac computer and you're trying to use Command in Safari, you're gonna not be happy because it's not gonna work.
These are great things to know.
Yes. So within here, let's see if it's, okay. So we're gonna go through a few of the different pages in here. These are all, like, some of these pages that are already built into it, you may not need it for your business, so just trash it, like just delete that page. Or maybe there's something that you feel like you need to add in here that's not there. But they're all kind of pre-made for you, and just read it, because sometimes it'll say, fill in here, blah, 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 blah. And if you just go in and print it, guess what your client's gonna see? That you didn't do it, and also they're gonna think, well, I mean, this is, crap because it's just generic because you didn't go in and fill it out. So before you print one of these, edit it all the way through. Read every line because it may be telling you to fill in something.
Insert name here.
Yes, that. Yes. So definitely do that.
Yeah, and it says your property up at the top. You need to switch that.
You should actually probably put the property
Yeah, that's
address
probably
there.
good.
Yeah. Takes minimal time and great impression, so. All right, so actually presenting a listing presentation. Practice, okay? Don't wing it the first time. Grab a friend, grab a spouse, grab whatever child, be like, sit here, be still, be quiet, but let me, whatever you have to do. Definitely practice. I mean, if you follow the presentation that's in there pretty accurately, it's about a 15-minute presentation. If you go through the whole thing, it's the one I use. I have taken the one in there and just edited it to fit my business. But for the most part, I use what was already in there. Okay, seller objections. There are, I believe, scripts actually in your material. This is one thing I do want to reference in your material. There are some great objection handlers in there. I think they're in here. Yeah.
Page 12.
That's really the good thing, the only thing I want you to look at from the material today is the scripts. Does it have the objection handler in here?
So they have where you can write it, but it's not actually a script.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it actually had them in here and it doesn't, but that's okay. But there is a script for everything. So I have a list, no, but I have a list of,
Common seller objections and objection handlers. If you want it, email me and that was me. That's my email, and then this is my cell phone too, if you guys need me.
you sent me a text? Oh, yes, yeah, absolutely. Text me, call me, however, but if you want that list of objection handlers, I can get it over to you for sure.
Thank you.
All right, so the actual listing appointments. This is where new agents tend to get the most nervous. Once you're getting ready to walk in that door and have a conversation with the seller. All right, so when you arrive at the home, obviously you need to introduce yourself. Hey, they answer the door. Hi, Mr. Seller, I'm Skylar. We had an appointment at 3 o'clock. It's 3 o'clock. It's, or maybe you're early because that's usually me. Like, I'm a few minutes early. I hope that's okay. Usually they're like, oh yeah, come on in. And a lot of times they want to know, like, what do you want to do first? Because they don't know either. So the first thing I usually have them do is give me a tour of the home. I'm like, well, show me your house. Like, let's take a look around. I like to let them give me a tour. There are agents who don't like that would rather sit them down and have a seller survey in front of them and be like, you fill this out and I'm going to take a tour of your home while you do that. I don't like doing it that way. It works for some agents, not the way I do it. I like them to show me around because they're more likely to point out things that are maybe wrong with the house. Okay, they're also going to point out the things that they love about the house. They're going to point out the things that they hate about the house. Those are all good things for you to know when you're trying to market it later. Because if it's something they hate about the house and when you list it, you brag on it, they're going to be like, why would you brag on that? It's a horrible feature. I had that happen one time. I was like, oh, I mean, I thought it was cool, but my bad, I'll take it off. So, and that's all stuff you learn as you go. And you're going to figure out like what order is comfortable for you. That's just what's usually comfortable for me. And it breaks the ice with them a little bit, gets them a little bit comfortable with you. You're not immediately sitting down and being like, let's go over paperwork, So it gives you a minute to really connect with that seller, especially if it's someone you have never met in person before. If it's a friend or something like that, it's a little bit different. You can be like, and I've seen your house, and you're like, sit down and do paperwork. But if you're working with a seller you've never met, it's kind of a good icebreaker and let them show you around. And maybe you need to go back and look at some other things again later that, they didn't show you, but at least let them do that.
In this office told me a couple of months ago that 95% of the time when she walks in the door, the first thing they do is ask, do you want something to drink? And she says, don't accept that right now. Start to walk through the business and then you can circle back to sitting down and have something to drink.
Yeah, I do that a lot too. So that is especially older they really like, and they want you to take something to drink.
Yeah.
They want to give you a drink. So sometimes we're like, well, let's take a look around, and then when we sit down to go over paperwork, I'll probably take you up on that water or whatever. And then if they forget to ask again, sometimes I'll even bring it up. I'm like, hey, you can I get that water that we talked about when I got here? So, and it's just a connection. It's just an easy way to get connected with your clients. So I do, if I get offered a drink, I don't ever turn it down. Even if I don't drink it, even if it just sits there and I don't actually even touch it, I'll say, yes, I'd love a glass of water or whatever it is. Get connected with your people. And then when you're kind of walking through, if it's a home that's super cluttered or something like that, it's a good, the cursor obviously doesn't work really well. So if y'all see me like trying to make stuff
It's
like,
what it looks like for me.
so, sorry. No. Okay, well, I'm just not gonna use that. So when you're doing that walkthrough, if it's a home that you feel like is definitely gonna need some staging or gonna need decluttered or gonna need anything like that, it's a good time to go ahead and start dropping subtle hints about those things. You don't necessarily want to haul off and be like, move this, take that out, move this thing. Like, oh, that's an eyesore. You're gonna have to get that out of here. But you can go ahead and start having conversations about, well, have you thought about staging, or have you thought about having someone come over and help you get your valuables put away, or things like that. Say you're in their bedroom and you notice they have a really nice jewelry box that's out on the counter. Perfect time to have a conversation about putting those valuables away before you get the home on the market. And then that usually is a good way too. They're automatically starting to know, like, oh, you know what you're doing and you're paying attention. Like, oh, you noticed my jewelry box. I really probably need to go ahead and put that in a safe or take that to my brother's house, or, whatever that may be for them, getting their valuables secured. And it just starts to get you, established with the seller.
So if a house is like really bad.
Like my one this week. Let's talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, like where you want to say, oh, you're not ready, kind of feel.
Yeah.
Subtle.
And it also depends on the client.
So,
But my one this week is a sweet little man. He is not going to declare that. Ain't gonna happen. Conversation. Like,
under 200,000.
Okay.
Have you thought about having Tyler come over and get it where you can actually walk through the
Okay.
Have you already talked to them? And it's not a dirty house.
I don't know. Just under the newspaper.
Guys, what are you wanting the property for?
Into
You're wanting 5 acres?
Have it all set up, like a garage sale.
What are you wanting this property?
Okay, so there's like these
That's
thing taped with prices.
Bobby?
Running ads in.
Bobby.
But
Somebody is
are you wanting it to build
Bobby's not
on
on mute.
or just to have?
mute everybody because that's
Yes.
a little much. Mute all participants. Not mute my audio. How do I mute everybody else?
Are you asking for tea? We heard somebody asking for tea. Is there?
No, that was mine. Mine was at the second meeting and I was like,
Okay, everybody's maybe being quiet now.
dogs in it, it's feeding them.
We can hear you. You're good.
You can hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. I was trying to mute everybody else. Okay,
Hey, Skylar, some of the questions that are coming in the classroom, though, are hard to hear sometimes.
okay, you want me to repeat them?
If you could, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, I can do that. Thanks, Stacy.
Thank you.
Okay, so that was where I got so distracted. just now.
Have you suggested?
Oh, indoor garage sale in my seller's house. Okay, so, that conversation was a lot more gentle, because he was just trying to get his house sold. in a different situation, that conversation's not gonna be quite as gentle. It's more like, hey, when a buyer's coming in here, they really want to see how big this room is. And right now, with the way your furniture is positioned, they can't tell that. So maybe it's a conversation around if we could get this piece out in the garage or this piece into storage or whatever. And a lot of times what I have found, most sellers are extremely receptive to that. They're like, oh, you're right, that would make this room look bigger.
Okay.
And then if
I like
it's something where they have a lot of pictures, stuff on the walls, like it's a lot. A good way to start that conversation is talk about depersonalization. Okay, be like, well, we're gonna have pictures of your home on the internet. You don't really want the pictures of your family also being put all over the internet. Yep, depersonalization. That's my favorite way to start that conversation. Oh, you have all this cute stuff with your name on it. It's absolutely adorable, but we're going to be putting these pictures out on the internet. So maybe we put that away so that everybody doesn't know the name of the people that own this home.
And the children that live here.
Yeah, photos of your children. Let's get those put away. And it's a good way to, start getting some of the clutter out of the house, because then they start thinking about it. They're like, oh, well, yeah, I probably don't want a picture of that on the internet.
Do you offer solutions, to this man? Or are you gonna offer solutions to this?
So for him, solutions for that seller are a little bit different just because he doesn't have the resources or the help to do a lot of the things. Before that listing appointment, I did go over and help kind of organize some of the stuff. I just did it personally. He wouldn't have been receptive to me sending someone else in because that's who he is.
Mhm.
In a different situation, I might have hired someone else to go in and help him with those things. He wouldn't have done any of it if it wasn't me in that room. So a lot of that is going to be, you're going to have to read your sellers and what they're going to be open to.
Do you think he would have been open if you hired somebody to work with them?
I don't know.
But his grandson,
But-
and then he helped out.
Well, he went out and there was some stuff on the exterior of that home that needed to be fixed, and his grandson didn't come out and do those things. I actually called him and I was like, listen, you're gonna have to go to your grandpa's house because
Yeah.
I need you to do X, Y, Z. And so he went out and did those things, no problem. But he's just a simple older gentleman. He's real cautious about having people in his home anyway. So I spent probably an hour of time over there just to help him get a little bit organized, and he was so appreciative. So if nothing else, it helped him trust me.
Yeah.
Oh, you're willing to come over here and help me do that. So then another example with him, and we were talking about contractors. He called me Tuesday morning and he said, Skylar, honey, that's what he calls me, Skylar, honey. I said, my roof is leaking. And I was like,
Of course it is.
I'm like, okay, who's your insurance agent? And so he told me, and actually she's my cousin. So I was like, okay, perfect. I was like, I will call her. I was like, then I'll have her call you, get whatever information she needs from you. And I said, and then I will call a roofer for you. If you don't know one, and he's like, honey, I don't know anybody. And I said, okay, I was like, I'll get it taken care of. So I've got an adjuster and a roofer going to his house tomorrow, and we're going to get his roof fixed. And he didn't have to lift a finger. So, those little things are where you really, get your sellers to love and trust you because you're helping them, especially those sellers. Oh, now I have the cursor, but it won't change. Okay. Y'all, this computer and I are not getting along. Okay, so the final point of the listing appointment is to get paperwork signed. Okay, so that's going to be closing the deal. How are we going to get that done? That's that sitting down face to face. This is telling me that there are scripts in your book, but I'm not going to trust that there actually are. You might check.
I saw one for closing the deal.
Okay. Well, I have more should you need them. I'm happy to send those to you also. But that's when you're really going to start seeing the objections from these sellers, is when you're sitting down and you're actually wanting to get a listing agreement signed. what objections are they gonna start throwing out at you, and being prepared to handle those, especially if they're interviewing other agents. Okay, which in my world, my little small town world, that doesn't happen a lot. Usually they're talking to one person. As long as they like what I say, we're signing paperwork and we're moving on. That's not always the case, you know, and most of the time if they're interviewing multiple agents, they're going to tell you that they are. And sometimes they'll lie to you and tell you that they are, but they're really not. I had that happen the other day too. He told me he was talking to somebody else, and then when it was all over with, he was like, I'm really not interviewing anybody else. I was going to sign your paperwork anyways. He was like, I was just seeing what you were going to say.
What do you say? Is it just like, here's what we offer, here's what they don't, like?
Well, you don't ever want to go like,
You don't want to attack them.
yeah, so what the question was, for you guys on Zoom was like, how do you go about that if you know that they are interviewing multiple agents? You don't ever want to attack the other agent. What you really want to do is just talk up what you offer.
Yeah.
You know, be like, I'm sure that they do a great job also, but here's my value proposition. We're going right back to that value proposition. What do I offer? And one of my favorite scripts is about reducing commission. Okay, so you're going to get that seller that's like, well, so-and-so said they would list it for 5%. Favorite rebuttal to that of mine, and usually it's a laugh out of my clients, is, so they're going to reduce their commission and sell your house? Yeah, they said they do it for 5%. I'm like, so they're that good at negotiating their own money, huh? And he, what do you mean? Well, if they're that willing to give up their own money, how hard do you think they're going to negotiate for yours?
Wow. That's great.
Yes, it's my favorite one. So I get to use that one a lot. Because there is a company in the area that I work in that does list for less on a regular basis. So they're like, well, so-and-so said they'll do it for 5. I'm like, cool. You're welcome to get 5% service. Mm-hmm. Yep.
No man out there.
Shoot, I had a question.
I heard you, Stacy. You have a question?
I had a question, but then I made a note of what your little rebuttal was, and then I forgot my own question. I really like your rebuttal.
That one a lot.
Oh, was something that I talk up, and I was curious what you say is, down here in Ardmore, of course, we have mostly boutique, the little mom and pop shops. So I always really try to emphasize the advantages of being with Keller Williams and being part of our marketing scheme and having the reach that we do.
Yes.
Do you talk about that too, or what? How do you
absolutely talk about that? Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing that's so cool about our office specifically being Mullenix, our market center, is we have 3 offices. Okay, so we have Norman, we have Pauls Valley, we have Ardmore. Okay, so if you have a property that's a unique property that may not pull a local buyer, we'll market it in our Ardmore office too. You get that a lot when you're working with acreage properties. Because so personally, I'm a member of our MLS here and the Southern Oklahoma MLS. I don't enter all of my stuff in the Southern Oklahoma MLS. However, unique properties, acreage properties, anything like that, always go in both. So, and it's even outside of our market center, we have KW everywhere. Okay, so we have so much more reach than mom and pop brokerage right here. Okay, so yes, Stacy, I talk that up a lot. Because as you know too, most of my bigger competitors in my market are mom and pop brokerages. So I definitely push the value of KW a lot. And that's the cool thing too about like this listing presentation. When you're going through it, there are pieces in there that are going to ask for numbers. Okay, you're new, you don't have numbers yet. So what do you put in there? Market center numbers. So, or if you're on a team, you can use your team numbers. So there's options there. We moved through real fast, but I'm sure we have a lot of other stuff to talk about. So, anything like specifically that you guys want to go, I guess, what is this? Scripts. I'll watch something there, but.
So how do you handle, I don't know if this would be considered an objection, but how would you handle someone saying, I'm going to interview 2 other realtors and I'll get back in touch with you at the end of the week?
So it depends on how the conversation's gone up to then. There's a lot of different ways that you can handle that. Sorry, I gotta remember to repeat the question. So he is asking how do you handle it if the person, your client, hopefully your client, is saying, I'm gonna interview multiple other agents, I wanna get back to you at the end of the week. I'll send you a list of closing statements and you can keep spitting those out. One of the favorite things that I have to say is, you know, what's keeping you from signing with me today? Like if you like everything that I had to say, we agree on price, we agree that, you know, I'm the best person for the job, like what's keeping you from signing with me today? Well, I have an appointment with another agent tomorrow to visit with them. I'm happy to call them and cancel that appointment for you.
Well, actually, it's not as harsh as it sounds because a lot of people are like, I know I'm like that. If I set an appointment with you today and with you tomorrow, I'm gonna feel really uncomfortable calling you and telling you that I was with another agent. You know,
I take you up on that offer. But yeah, call them, please.
yeah.
I'd be like, you know what? I know that agent because in my market, most of the time I do. I'm happy to give them a call and let them know that we signed the documents today, and so your appointment's going to be canceled for tomorrow. Have I done that? Followed through and actually done that task? Once I actually had a seller take me up on that, but most of the time they're like, you know what? No, it's okay. Like I'll go ahead and give them a call. Let's just get this done today. Because I'm sitting there in front of them with paperwork. Like, what's keeping you from signing with me today? Like, if you like everything that I had to say, and we agree that I'm the best person for the job, what's keeping you from signing this paperwork today? And a lot of times that rebuttal is, well, I'm talking to another agent tomorrow. Okay, but we've already agreed that you like what I have to say, and I'm the best person for the job. So what's keeping you from signing these papers today? I'm gonna keep
Honestly,
going back
for
to
me,
that.
I would go ahead and sign, and then I just fake my way through the tomorrow appointment. Yeah, that's nice. Let me give you a call.
See, but that's not what I would do. And I would say, we haven't agreed that you're the best person for the job. We've got 2 other people in interview.
Yeah, and I've had people that come at me that way also. And be like, okay, so in that point, I mean, sometimes you're not gonna get that doc signed that day, but you're gonna be following up the next day. Hey, how'd your appointment go? Are we ready to, you know, are we ready to circle back and have a conversation? So in that case, you know, that's how you handle it, but
I mean, my inclination is to say, I think that's intelligent. I think it's a smart choice. When you see what strengths they bring to the table, I think it will be clear that I'm the best person for the job.
and I've used that one too. So it's a lot of reading your sellers. So I know YouTube probably heard about this, but newer agents may have not, but I do a lot of mirror and match. Okay, so how fast does your client talk? How slow does your client talk? What kind of attitude does your client have? You're going to try to match that. So you're going to know which sellers you can use some of that, excuse my language, but smart ass witty stuff with, and which ones you can't. Okay.
Like even with you, if you were my client, I would have to step it up. Like I would have to talk fast, like, you know, to try to match you because I'm more, you know, and you're like, hey, I wouldn't know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that can be a real problem. This is a real friendly business.
This is a relationship business.
I don't always.
Yeah, it's absolutely a relationship business. And sometimes those clients, you're not going to get them right away. They're months down the road or even years. You know, I started having conversations with a seller. I didn't sell their home for 2 years after that. But when they did finally sell it, I mean, I listed and I sold it. But I nurtured that person for 2 years before we actually had that appointment.
How often do you come across the, you know, okay, I'm gonna sell your house, but they need another house to move into, and they're just not sure where to move yet, you start helping them with that process as well.
So you're like, they're buying also, buying and selling? Yeah, that's wonderful. You get 2 for 1. I like those.
Three.
Do those happen very often for you?
So it depends. So I live in a little bit of a different market than Norman. A lot of my people, if they're moving outside of my market that I serve. So what I do in those situations is a lot of times I end up with a referral. So if I have a seller and they're selling and they're moving to Tulsa, I have a great referral partner in Tulsa. So the first question is, oh, do you already have an agent in Tulsa? And they're like, well, not yet. You know, we've maybe talked to so-and-so, or we've looked at a house with so-and-so. I'm like, you know what? You need a really good buyer's agent. Let me connect you with someone. Make that connection, get a 25% referral.
I just wanted to buy a house in Tulsa, and I'm like, I don't know anybody yet, I'll find out.
I can send you a phone number.
That's another thing that you can do on the groups, too. If you ever need, people in other areas.
Yeah.
You need to get those groups.
Yeah, Missy knows someone everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
So you don't even necessarily have to post in the group. Hey, Missy, who you got?
It's surprising.
you got?
People post like the smallest town in Kentucky, and they're like, oh yeah, here, this is the top. I'm like, yeah, I never even heard of this.
Yeah.
Referral partner Missy is definitely a good go-to, because that's like her.
That's her. Okay, so we were talking about different agents in this office have different expertise. Missy Webb is your referral person.
Write that down.
You need a referral somewhere, she's got someone. And if she doesn't, she can make one phone call and have a person.
Yeah.
And now when you're talking to your friend, you have somebody that you know, trust, or someone markets
Mhm.
So it's not
Yeah.
just-
I have a couple friends from California, they're already asking me like, oh my gosh, the houses over there are amazing and they're cheap, and I'm just like, come on over, but give me a week, just give me a week. I know,
Come over and I'll help you buy a house, and I would also love to connect you with a great listing agent in your area.
Oh, yeah, California.
Yeah.
25%.
I will take 25% in California all day.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So that's a great thing too. If you get buyer leads, people moving here from out of state. Oh, do you have a home there that you need to sell? Do you already have it listed? Oh, you don't? Do you already have an agent? I would love to connect you with someone. And then you have no clue who that person is at that moment, so you hang up and you start figuring out who that person is.
Yeah, I have family over there that's also in the real estate business, so I think you'd figure it out, but yeah, it's a lot of, people right now, they're excited, they want to buy, and it's just like, kind of like overwhelming.
And talking about those vendor relationships, and I'm jumping to buyers just for a second, but having really good relationships with your loan officers. I'm sure Susie can attest to that, but loan officers that are going to make sure that your client is calling you back. That you have a loan officer that's like, you have a good buyer's agent, make sure you're utilizing them, use their service, and keep them on track of why it's important that they have a buyer's agent. Because a lot of buyers don't understand the way our business works, and they'll just start calling every listing agent on every sign, and then it just is a disaster. And so as a listing agent, great question to ask when you get a sign call. Oh, are you currently working with a realtor? It's one of the first questions out of my mouth. Especially in my market, small market. Do you have an agent? Because if you do, you should hang up the phone and call them.
Yeah, please. They would appreciate that.
Yeah, and that's really not even for my own benefit, but that's for, I'm looking out for other people too.
Oh, you want to bother me?
Exactly, that one goes all over me. Oh, I don't want to bother them.
Can't you just
You don't want to bother them, but you want to bother me. So you want to bother me to go show you the house, and then you want to write the offer with them. That's not going to work.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I don't want to step on each other's shoes.
Yeah, that's a good way.
That's what I say a lot also. You're like, you know what, I know you have a working relationship with that person. I'm sure they would appreciate the phone call from you. If you're not comfortable making that phone call, I will. And I've done that too. I've called agents and been like, hey, your buyer called me. They want to see this house. You might reach out and let me know when you guys want to schedule a showing. And, you know, handling it that way instead of being catty and being like, well, I know they have an agent, but I'm gonna work with them anyway. That's not gonna get you very far in this business.
Yeah, that's not the right thing to do, but it's also probably wouldn't even work because they'll let you show them and then they'll probably, you know, they still have this.
They're still gonna write the contract with their agent.
It's very likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all you did was waste your time and probably irritate another agent.
Yes.
And your agent relationships are important. I mean, these are the people that you have to do business with.
We all need each other one day.
We do, and we all have the same goal. We all want the same thing. All of our goal is to get these houses sold. Get our clients in a house, get our clients sold so they can move on, whatever that is. We all have the same goal. So it's all about good communication. Like, I know Jennifer Rush really, really touches on this a lot, but like being a good cross-sell agent. Be a good cross-sell agent. Okay, so be that agent. You're like, oh man, like I'm so glad Susie's bringing me back because I love working with Susie.
Yes.
It makes a huge difference.
Not, oh crap, Susie's showing that house today. I hope her buyer doesn't like it.
Always look at it as an opportunity to grow your downline.
Yes.
They'll be so happy working with you. They'll be like, what's going on over at Keller Williams?
Yeah, you make friends with other agents, you know, they love working with you. And they're like, man, you know, you guys are killing it. Like, I love working with all of your agents. Awesome. Come work with us all the time.
That transaction was so smooth, yeah.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Would you like us to show you how we do that? Come on over. Let me set you up on a call with my team leader, Stephanie Chapman.
And it can go the other way around too, like if you've worked with an agent that was awful, and then you get an offer from them, and you're like, ugh. You know, like even if it's a great offer and this, you know, you don't want to work with them, you never know how that may, you know, affect you in the future.
Yeah. At one point, Jennifer, I think, had a class around being a good cross-sell agent. I don't know if she still does that. I'll have to ask her, but it was really good. It was really good. So, yeah, and if you have any questions around that, like etiquette, ethics, anything like that, like what can I do? What can I say? How should I handle XYZ situation? Call me, call Stephanie, Susie's been a buyer's agent. Are you doing listings now? Maybe. So Susie's been a buyer's agent for a long time. Like, she's got a lot of good insight there. She's a great resource also, especially when working with buyers. And but that's the cool thing about this market center and this office is pick up the phone and call, because none of the people in this office they're gonna answer. And if they don't answer, they're going to call you back and they're going to share their knowledge. They want to. That's something as a new agent I struggled with. I'm like, I can't call and ask them for that. Like, they've worked for years to put that presentation together, that plan together, or whatever. No, call and ask. They'll hand it over. I do it to Jennifer all the time still. Like, hey, I'm like, hey, how do you handle this? And she's like, hey, Christina, email that Skylar. But yeah, and me, like, you know, I've been in business for 7 years now. So when I get new agents down in Falls Valley, I'm like, you want to know how I do something in my business? Come sit in my office and I'll walk you through it. I'll walk you through every single step of it. If I have a checklist, you're welcome to it. If I have a model written up for something, I'm going to email it to you in a second. Like, we're all in this together and there's enough business to go around. So it's all about, like, together we all achieve more. We all do. And especially through Keller Williams. I mean, it's all right here. Everything is right here on a platter. It's sitting right here. Like, if you choose not to use it, okay. But you're squandering an opportunity because it's all right there in front of you. And I did that my first couple of years. I winged it. I did my own thing. I winged it. I sold some houses. It was great. I decided to plug in to KW and the things that they offer and get in this office and talk to people, meet people. when I started plugging in here, I remember Kara Cavallo, I was on her team at Bold, and she was sitting there, she goes, how long have you been in our office? And I said, about 2 years, and she started crying, which, you know, Kara, she cries. But I'm like, why are you crying? What did I say? She's like, I had no idea who you were. But that wasn't her fault, that was my fault. Because I wasn't plugging in, I wasn't getting involved, I wasn't doing the things. And the second that I made that transition and jumped in feet first, immerse myself in the culture and the people, go to, even if it's like, hey, let's go get a drink after work, like whatever that is, just get around it, my business more than doubled. And all I did differently was jump in feet first to the culture. Your mindset changes.
Advantages is the
Yes.
You can't do that. Like you take it for granted. Sometimes that other places are not like that.
No. And a lot of other companies too, like we were talking about, like, you want to know how I handle something? Call me, I'll send it to you. I'll send you my sheet. You're not going to get that at other places. That's mine. That's how I run my business. I'm not going to help you with yours. That's why I love this company.
Hey, Skylar, I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a seller.
Hold on a second, Alex.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Now go. I can hear you.
Okay, I have a seller who was, I don't know if I could consider them a seller. So my husband and I went and bought a dog kennel from someone, and I just happened to ask them, like, how do you like the Purcell area? And they're like, oh, I really like it. Like, are you guys thinking about moving to Purcell? And I was like, no, actually, like, I'm going to be servicing this area. I'm a real estate agent. And so I just wanted to get your feedback. And they were like, oh, well, I really want to sell my house and buy another one in about a month. And I was like, okay, great. Like, when would you like to set an appointment with me sometime? This day works great, blah, blah, blah. They have an extremely busy schedule though, because they're oil filled. And so times would never meet up, dates would never meet up. Like, and then all of a sudden they pretty much just fell off. And so I don't know. My question for you is, what do I do, or what could I do to kind of pull them back in? Because they haven't done anything yet. They haven't
with another agent. It's just sitting there. They haven't done FSBO.
They're still like wondering if they're ready yet. They haven't really found another house to buy yet. And I put them on a saved search, and I've been like sending them homes and stuff, but I don't know where to go from here. So
I think that conversation looks something like, you know, what is your timeline goal now? Do you have a timeline goal? Like, you know, what are we looking at? Do you still want to sell your home? And if you do, what's your timeline look like? It feels like that may have adjusted. So let's have a conversation around that. What does it look like now? Has it changed? Have your goals changed? And maybe even has what you're looking for changed? Because maybe you're set up on that auto search and you're sending them houses, but they're not finding what they're looking for. So maybe what they're looking for has adjusted now that they've started looking.
Okay.
So those are conversations to have, like, is what I'm sending you what you're looking for? And if it's not, how can I make that adjustment? What can I do better on my end to send you more homes that are actually what you're looking for? And then you also want to have a conversation with them around, you know, if they need to sell to buy. Have you had that conversation?
Yeah, they're still up in the air of whether or not they want to keep their house though. They're more for buying a home right now than really making the decision of selling it, of the one that they're in. So to me, it feels like they really just don't know what they want.
And sometimes they just don't. But that's part of our job, is to help them figure out what that is.
Okay.
So have they talked to a lender? Do you know, are they cash buyers?
I keep like giving them ideas on how to get in touch with their lender or whatever, and they're like, I just don't have the time.
Yeah,
and I'm like, okay, great. Do you want me to send your number to my choice of lenders or whatever?
Yeah, and maybe also if you say, would it be okay if I gave one of my preferred lenders your phone number and they can reach out to you?
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
sometimes that'll kind of give them a kick in the pants if the lender is now calling them and being like, I want to help you get pre-qualified. Let's figure out, what we can do for you.
Some even have an app or like.
Yeah, like
something-
Cornerstone does.
Yeah, they have an app that they can use, so maybe use that to try to like be helpful and.
Yeah.
I know you're so busy, let me do this.
Yeah. I know you're super busy. Let me help you with this process.
Mm.
Yep. And another thing with that is getting them connected with a lender, especially in this market, is they need to be pre-qualified, because if they find a home that they love and they're not, most likely by the time they get pre-qualified, that home's off the market. It's already under contract. So you need to be ready to roll, because they're moving fast.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I have a different kind of question that's not really part of listing,
Okay.
but I think it's a good question for everybody that's in the room.
All right. Throw it at me, Stacy.
I'm having sellers or buyers purchase a house as is. That doesn't waive their right to being able to cancel if inspections fail on something, right?
Correct.
Okay.
They
Where's-
still have the inspection period, yes.
Okay.
Basically, that inspection period turns into an option period almost, of like, were your inspections satisfactory or not? If they were not, you have until the end of this inspection period to get out of the contract without losing your earnest money.
Okay, because I'm reading the contract on the investigations, inspections, and reviews, and I'm just not reading those words that if something fails, you still have the option to cancel.
So where that option kind of comes into that is because it gives you the time period in there to negotiate those repairs.
Right?
Negotiation on an as-is, are you okay with it or are you not?
Right. All it is the seller
Okay.
has no obligation to fix it.
Correct.
That's all it really means.
Yep.
Okay.
Did you hear that?
Not quite.
Okay, so what he was saying, and he's very correct, is basically you're just saying the seller has no obligation to fix anything. That doesn't mean that the buyer can't go ahead and back out.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry to give us a little off track there.
Nope, that's okay. That's a great question, even as a listing question. So, a lot of sellers, you'll get them under contract as is, and then they come back on the inspection and they're like, well, there was this huge item. So either that's fixed or we're out. So even though the contract was as is, that buyer can still either say, either you fix this or I'm not going to buy this house.
Yeah, but it also gives you a lot of negotiation power, because the buyer doesn't want to fix the house. They're selling for as is because they have a reason. They don't want to fix the house. So you can easily then go, that's great, let's take $20,000 off what we talked
Yeah,
about.
and because there is this big issue. So say foundation stuff came up.
Right.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and get a quote. Okay, it's gonna cost me $18,000 to put piers in this house. So let's renegotiate our
That's what I have to
price.
say.
Yeah, everything is negotiable until the day you're sitting at the closing table. That's my reminder to pick up my child from school. Sorry. I'm not picking her up today, but it goes off every day, so I don't leave her there.
Go ahead, why did you want, like, that's my reminder.
No, I'm not picking her up today, but I have to leave it on for every day or I'll lose track of time. Yeah. What other questions do you guys have? Kind of going through here, but.
I have a question. Are we ready to leave like presentation?
Sure. We can go off whatever bunny trail you want.
Well, your alarm gives me this question. How do you not work all the time?
You set boundaries up front, and it took me a really, really long time to figure that out. My first few years in real estate, if my phone rang, I jumped and ran. Okay. I do not do that now. So I have my phone on do not disturb after 7 p.m. There's only a few people who can get through to me after 7 p.m. There's nothing in real estate that's going to happen at 7:30 at night that's can't survive until 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, or even 9 o'clock, whatever that time is for you. For me, it's 8 because I'm at the office by then. But there's no emergencies in real estate, okay? There's no such thing as a real estate emergency. So you figure out what those standards are for yourself. And the other thing for me that was difficult in the beginning when I was working a lot of buyers is I would find myself working all weekend long. Well, then I wasn't seeing my kid. So it turned into, for me, I worked one weekend day, because when you're working buyers, a lot of times you got to work weekends because they can't go see stuff during the week. So if you want the client, you're going to have to work weekend. So the way I adjusted that was I either worked Saturday or Sunday, never both. So if I was doing an open house that Sunday, if I had any other weekend showings, they were on Sunday. I didn't show houses that Saturday. So maybe the caveat to that, I had a buyer who needed to see homes on Saturday, turns into I work Saturday, not Sunday this weekend. So it wasn't always the same. It kind of just depended on what was going on that weekend. And then occasionally I would take it and be like, I'm not showing any houses this weekend. I'm just not. And what you'll find with that is most of your clients that are going to work with you, they're going to work with you no matter what. You know, when you get your loyal people and you say, you know what, I can't do it on Saturday, how's Sunday? They'll figure out a way to make that work. And you can always use, well, I can't do it Thursday evening at 6 because I have an appointment. You don't have to say what that appointment is. Maybe that appointment is dinner with your family. It doesn't matter what that appointment is. All you're telling them is, I already have an appointment at 6 p.m. Could we do 4? Or maybe the next day is better, or, you know, kind of what fits in your schedule. But you learning to use the verbiage, you know what, I already have an appointment at that time for anything. Okay, maybe that is dinner with your family. Maybe it's a child's football game. Maybe I have to pick up my child from school at 2:15. So I have an appointment at 2:15. My appointment is I have to go get my kid from school.
I heard something really good at a class, the charge I went to last year.
Mm-hmm.
This agent, I can't remember her name, but she said she would tell, I think she was strictly a seller's agent, but she would tell her sellers, out of courtesy, I'm not going to call you after 6 p.m. However, if we get a really good offer, is it okay for me to call you after 6?
Mm-hmm.
And that set the tone where she
don't
was
call
really,
me after 6.
Yes, but in the opposite way. And I was like, that's smart. That's smart. So
Also, the way you say it, human kindness.
Yes. Yeah. And you teach, so bold law, you teach people how to treat you. So if you set those standards up front, and so I have sellers that will still try to call me 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. I don't answer. I will call them back in the morning. I don't answer. I don't send a text message. I don't reach out at all. We will talk in the morning because there's nothing happening that won't survive until the next day. Now, if I have a seller that I know works crazy hours and can't talk during certain times, and maybe I have to make a concession for that seller. So say I had a client that worked in a prison. It was a prison guard thing.
correctional officer.
Yeah, in Texas. And she could not take her phone in the building. Okay, and she worked like super wonky hours. So for her, I had to talk to her at different times than I would normally let myself talk to a seller. But so sometimes there's situational things, you know. But so with her, I mean, a lot of times I talk to her at 10 p.m. because that's when she had her, I mean, I could not talk to her. She's like, I can't call out on the office phone. She's like, I cannot communicate while I'm in the prison. So that was just one of those, handled that one a little differently.
I still struggle with your problem, just so you know, because
We all do. It's
I
just,
just keep working and working. And one of the things I have not mastered is sticking to a schedule.
Mhm.
And
for people who have figured that out,
Yeah.
it's amazing. That I know that's the key. I know that if I can do that
Absolutely.
and actually stick to it, to where I'm not doing my Facebook post at 8 o'clock at night and then feeling like then people are, messaging me then and, if I
And that
could-
you need to respond at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, and, so I would say find something that's good at that and say, teach me your ways.
It took me a long time,
Mm-hmm.
long time.
That's probably my biggest struggle, really, is sticking to a schedule.
I still struggle with it because I'll get to the office in the morning. So my schedule is supposed to be at the office at 8. I have from 8 to 9 to like get my crap together, like kind of make my punch list for the day, like what are my big frogs today, get those written down. I write them down, hand on paper. I'm old school in that way. I like it handwritten right beside me. I make my punch list. And then 9 p.m. starts lead, or 9 p.m., 9 a.m. starts lead gen. So from 9 until 10:30, what's supposed to happen in my world is nothing inbound gets handled, outbound only, 9 to 10:30. I'm horrible about minding my own rule. And I'll see an email pop in, or I'll see, man, I got a text from that agent that we are having some issues in this cross-sell. I need to handle it right now. No, you don't. That it can wait an hour and a half. It's not going to explode in an hour and a half. But it's hard to create that mentality of, I don't need to handle this right now. It can wait. But when you're bringing those things in, so that's my lead gen time, 9 to 10:30. I start handling inbound stuff. My lead gen doesn't get done. And then it's on to the next thing. So I didn't get my lead gen done for the day. So what does that look like in my pipeline for the future? I just killed my own business this morning because I got distracted.
Do you think that it comes with experience mostly to really internalize the fact that your world's not going to explode in an hour and a half? Because I feel, someone told me, maybe been Steve or Missy Webb, they said, no landing is smooth. And so, I was always freaking out all the time, freaking out. And then once I saw things closed, okay, then, it didn't explode, then you can kind of start calming down.
What I have found too, when I will follow my rule of no inbound from 9 to 10:30, so maybe I have an inbound issue come in at 9. By the time 10:30 rolls around and I'm ready to address it, it's already resolved.
Yeah,
Nice.
that's so true.
Because either the title person, the lender, or the cross-sell agent has already figured out the problem and has already addressed it and it's done. And I'm like, oh, great. So glad you got that taken care of. And you never even had to stress about it because you didn't even look at it when it came in. You didn't even know about it until it was already fixed.
Well, good luck with that, my friend, because I have an emergency, and that's what makes me, why I'm good, why I want to do this job, and
Yeah.
what makes me
It's just
care.
learning to channel that into the right areas. It's taking those characteristics of yourself and figuring out where to channel them. So. Hey. Exciting. Absolutely. It was good to see you.
Thank you.
Okay. If you guys need anything, seriously, take my phone number down, my email. Don't hesitate to reach out anytime. I'm not in Norman a lot, but I am up here, at least every couple of weeks. But we can set up a Zoom or phone call, whatever you need. Happy to help anytime.
Thank you. Well,
Absolutely.
I'm a little less scared now.
It's like once you figure out how to really mirror and match your clients, listing appointments get so much easier.
I think the thing that makes me the most nervous, I don't mind interacting with people, strange and all that. It's ooh, but what value do I actually have as someone that's not had a single transaction under their belt? You know what I mean? That,
You don't have to disclose that.
No, I guess you're right. You could be like, I sold it. Well, you shouldn't.
No, you
Wait,
don't lie,
yeah.
but that's where you go into market center numbers.
Yeah, that makes sense.
My office has done XYZ transactions.
Right.
My office closed XYZ deals.
Okay. Yeah,
It doesn't have to be I.
right. That, and it still reflects on you because you're, that makes sense.
Yeah, you shift those numbers into, well, my office has done blah, blah, blah,
Mhm.
which is,
So at first, the market center is really gonna be your kind of value, like I have access to all of this, all these
in the
agents, all
beginning,
these vendors.
absolutely.
Okay, that's cool, that makes sense.
Yeah, and if you need to start building a vendor list,
Uh-huh.
like just start calling the team leaders around here or
Yeah.
top individual agents and be
Yeah.
like, who do you use for this? Who do you use for this? Who do you use for this? And they're gonna start spitting them out.
Yeah, I'm the ISA for Taylor Davis right now. so-
Okay, yeah, there you go.
Not that I need
Hey
it.
Taylor, who's your roofer?
Yeah,
Hey
so-
Taylor, who's your favorite blender? Like,
I mean, look, I pop in all the time. Oh, what's this? What's that? What's this?
Yeah.
So-
yeah, it's
Well, thank you
just,
so much.
yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it. And you'll probably hear from me at some point, because I know people that.
Yeah, yes, yeah.
Okay,
Shoot me a text or an email and I'll get it to you.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
And then I saw they have practice online. Yeah. No, I didn't do it. No, I was like, I already paid $60. So I was like, well, we'll just see how it goes. Well, great job.
Yeah, seriously.
You guys look at the contract. Look at like all the contracts, the different kinds of contracts and what they do. Because that's some of the questions that I